99% of coaches and agents recruit this way when they hear a player's name. That being said, most parents and players have no clue what the recruiting process entails and how coaches and agents go about it. So we're gonna go through that entire process today so you know exactly what you need to do to maximize your chances of getting recruited. So stick around. What's going on, guys? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Braden Pearl and I'm the founder of Advancement Hockey Advising, where we help players advance to the next level. So let's dive into exactly what a coach or an agent does when they hear a name. So I know from experience, and I know from talking to countless coaches, whenever I hear a player's name, the first thing that I do is I look them up on Elite Prospects, okay? But basically you look up the player and you want to see a basic history or resume of what they do. It's a quick lookup, so I'm not going to go in depth or anything, but I want to know, okay, where are they playing right now? What do their stats overall look like? And what's their history as well? By doing that, I have a general idea, okay, who's this player? What's their birth year? Where they shoot? You know, what team are they playing for? And all of this. I have a general snapshot. I can do that in like 20 seconds and I have an idea, okay, where does this player kind of fit? It gives me a general sense. So that's the first thing that I do. If I like what I see, or if a coach likes what they see, you know, from a resume standpoint, the next thing they're going to do is look into video. So the higher budget teams, typically they'll go for like a huddle slash instat, or they're going to go for a 49ing, right? They're going to go and watch the games shift by shift, so it saves them a lot of time. This way they can actually see just regular shifts of the player, not highlight videos, nothing like that. They see regular shifts, and from there they have an idea, okay, what kind of player is this? What type of player are they? How do they play? And you can kind of see the micro habits. They're not going to go and spend an hour on the player. They're just going to get a general sense, maybe 5-10 minutes on the player to see how they play. From there, if the resume makes sense and if they like what they see on video, there's several things that could happen from there. Some coaches at this point might choose to call you and sign you right away and give you an offer, okay? This doesn't always happen. I would say only when they see a resume that's a standout resume, so a really, really good one and really good video. At that point, they'll typically call the player, or they'll call the advisor or the agent, the parent, whatever it is. They'll say, hey, I want your kid, here's the offer, blah, blah, blah. Okay, if they really like the player. If they like the player, but they still need to be sold more on them, at this point, they'll kind of go down the remainder of this list. And just so you guys are clear on this, at any point going down this list, the coach could call you, or call the player, call the parent, the advisor, and say, hey, I want this kid, what's it gonna take, blah, 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 make an offer, okay? At any point down this list. But sometimes just by looking at the overall resume on Elite Prospects and looking at the video as well, just by this, sometimes coaches will make an offer, but usually they need to be sold a little bit more. Usually before offering, especially the higher end coaches, they'll want to get a sense as to who the player actually is, okay? So they'll usually call your advisor slash agent, they might call your current coach, and they might do some digging and call your past coaches too, especially at the higher end programs like the NCAA D1s or the major junior programs. Sometimes they'll do more research on you as well. So they'll call some people to get a good sense. If they like who you are and they like what they saw in the video and they like the resume, at that point they might make an offer. But more commonly, they move on to kind of like step number 4, where they come watch you play in person, okay? And just so you know, they don't always call the agent or advisor or the coach or your current coach before they come watch you play. Sometimes the steps are inverse, but typically I see it more than not that they call the coach and stuff to let them know, hey, I'm going to come to this game, but not always. Basically, the next step number 4, what they do is they come and watch you play in person. They're really interested in you now. So they're really looking at your micro habits on the ice, that you're not being complacent. They have good body language. They're looking at what you do away from the puck. They're really analyzing your game. At this point, typically, if they're fully sold on you, they like what they see, they're usually going to approach you and sign you from there, or call you after the game or something like that, okay? Usually they do this, but sometimes they move on to step number 5 if they're not fully sold on you. And that's when they're going to say, hey, I like your game, I'm not fully sold yet. Or if it's a really high-end team, they'll say, I like your game, but you need to come earn your spot at camp, right? Usually, a major junior and NCAA, well, NCAA, they don't have camp, but like a high-end pro coach, high-end junior coach, they're usually going to say, listen, we like your game. We don't offer guys right off the bat. You need to come earn your spot at camp. So you do see that happening as step number 5 here. But overall, at that point, it's usually the steps that they kind of follow. So 1, Elite Prospects. 2, they watch video online through different platforms. One thing I forgot to mention too is they don't always use Huddle or 49ing. Sometimes they'll watch on Flow, sometimes they'll watch on Live Barn, CHLTV, etc. Whatever works and works for the program. Step number 3, basically they're gonna call your coach, agent, advisor, past coaches, all that stuff to get an idea. Step number 4, go watch some games in person. And then step number 5, if they're not fully sold on you or they're high-end team, they're gonna ask you to come to camp. So knowing how this process typically works now, how can this help you succeed as a player? What can you do? Okay, there's several things on my list here. First and foremost, really important, always play at your best, okay? Always, day in and day out, consistently show up every practice, every shift, every game, every workout session. Do your best, because you never know who's watching and you never know who's calling your coach or your advisor for feedback on you, okay? Especially with video nowadays, Huddle, Instat, 49ing, all the different video platforms, everything's basically filmed nowadays at the higher levels. So if you're playing at those levels, make sure day in and day out you really compete, because you never know who's watching a shift, okay? So really important, never be complacent, always be consistent and give it your best. Second, by understanding this, don't just send a huge novel by email or huge novel by text or call the coach and give him irrelevant details. They're busy, right? And they have a very systematic way as to how they recruit. So give them what they want. I've created videos in the past as to how to email coaches and contact coaches that you can see up here. But the short and sweet version of it is give the exact info that they're looking for, and for like your elite prospects link, your video, and a quick sentence as to why you're interested in their program, right? If you do this, and you can give a few referrals, but not necessary. If you do this, it keeps it very short and sweet, and it's exactly what the coaches want, so they're much more likely to engage versus if you send a huge novel, right? Really important. Third important thing, it's the elephant in the room, and it's something that players overemphasize, but that is important, and that coaches often underemphasize. It's that stats matter, okay? Stats do matter, but there's some nuance to this. You want to focus on the process, you don't want to focus on the results. So what does that mean? It means that you focus on point number one that I gave you, playing consistently, always showing up and doing the right things. If you do that, the stats will come. If you just focus on the stats, I've done this in the past before, I've been guilty of it. The problem is that you just focus on the end result, you're not focusing on the process, and by doing that, the end result usually doesn't come, okay? So really important, you focus on all the little things that you can control, and eventually the stats will come as a byproduct of that. One special tip I want to mention on this, coaches often hate it when players come to them with stats, but really important, if you notice that a lot of your stats are inaccurate or they're missing, if it's just one, ignore it, it's not the end of the world. If it's many stats and there's a lot of mistakes and makes a big difference, okay, you don't want to just ignore that. The best way to go about this is to acquire all the proof on your end. So if you have access to Instat or 49ing, that's a really good tool. It gives you the exact reports of stats and you can break it all down nicely. Okay, if you have that, get that report prepared, get it all prepared on your end, present it to the coach, say, hey, like I'm missing like half my stats. You give that report to the coach, it makes their job easy. They submit it to elite prospects, or you can submit it to elite prospects yourself and they're actually gonna modify it from there, okay? So there's multiple ways you can go about this, don't just ignore it. But if you do this, make sure you're prepared and you don't just go complain to the coach. Second pro tip on this, approach the assistant coach, not the head coach. It's usually a much better idea if you do that, it's much easier to go about it that way. Next thing I wanna emphasize, be a good teammate, be a good player in the locker room, okay? Like I said before, high-end coaches will call your coaches, they'll call your advisors, and the last thing you want is to blow an opportunity or blow multiple opportunities because you're a problem in the locker room, okay? Be a really good teammate, have good body language, be there to help the team win, not just for yourself. If you do that, it's gonna pay off in dividends, and when coaches do come calling about you, they're gonna say phenomenal things about you, and at that point, they're likely gonna wanna take you. Last point that I wanna mention, in any of these steps in the recruiting process, if you do get signed, do not become complacent, okay? Make sure you still work day in and day out, and that when you show up to camp, to training camp, and that the team's made and you're on the team and everything, that you don't get beat out, okay? That you don't lose your spot, that you show up and you show why you got signed to the team, that you even, surprise and exceed their expectations when you come to camp, okay? That's what you want, because at any point, a team can let you go even if they signed you. So I want to end with that. And that's a wrap for the video, my friends. If you want to keep watching, watch here or click here. If you haven't already, absolutely destroy that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. If you have any questions on this video, if you have anything you disagree with me, definitely drop it in the comment section down below or send us an email. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We will catch you on that next one.